Friday. Welcome to another episode of Unzipped with Sherry with yours truly. I am Sherry. Today's episode is sponsored by 3knuckleheads.com. You can check them out on their website, 3knuckleheads.com, where you can get Loungefly bags, purses, all of your Comic-Con needs. They're amazing guys, so make sure you go check them out. And as far as today's episode, I'm really excited because I have become friends with this guy named Bobby, who's also had bariatric surgery. He's been posting videos on TikTok. He's been sharing his journey. And I feel like there's just not enough guys out there talking about it from their perspective. So I'm so excited for today. I have Bobby. So, Bobby, I hope you're ready because we are about to get unzipped. We all have a story on how we got here, right? So for me, I used to be over 350 pounds until one day I made the single decision that I wanted change. Weight loss surgery has saved my life, and now I am here for you. I want to hear your story. You know, the one that happened during that before and after picture. It's time to unzip. What's your story? Hello, Bobby. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, I am so excited that you're here today because I've been watching your videos. I love that you're just open and honest and you're talking about real shit and talking to how like when none of us are perfect, we're just all in this whole bariatric
hmm
life together. And I love that you are out there giving people hope and giving people suggestions, and it's not competitions with anyone else. I just love that you're putting it out there. And so I cannot wait for people to hear more about your story. So thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no problem. I'm excited. It's been a journey. It's been fun.
It's been a journey because you were sleeved about a year and a half ago, right?
February 26th of 2021. So what's that? A year of 16 months?
Yeah, almost 18 months. Yeah, 16 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And isn't it amazing how much can happen in just
Oh,
16
it's
months?
crazy. It's crazy to look back. Like, I mean, even now, like a year post-op, I was looking back at pictures and everything, and how I'd changed. But like even like the 4 months since then, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I absolutely love it. And we're going to get into as much as we can in the next hour. But for people who don't know your story, people who are not on social media, who might just be watching this for the first time, and they're like, who's this good looking dude about talking to Sherry or whatever? Why don't you give us a little bit about your backstory
Okay.
before you had the surgery?
Okay. So, I when I was a kid, up until about third grade, I was six pack, really, really good shape, very fit. And then something in third grade happened, and I just started gaining weight. I think it was just because I was eating too much. I mean, I was just a kid, and my parents have always provided for me as long as I could justify it within reason. I got it. I mean, I was spoiled, and evidently I liked food a lot, and so mom and dad never said no. And so I put on weight. I want to say that it was probably sixth or seventh grade. I was up to like 200 pounds, and
In sixth or seventh grade.
sixth or seventh grade. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to say it was seventh grade because my freshman year when I started high school, I was like 240, and I just kept going up from there. And by the time I graduated, I was like 315.
Okay.
And so I hung around like 315 for a while. I never played any. I played sports growing up when I was, anywhere from like 6 to 12. I played baseball and soccer and all this other stuff, but I just could never seem to lose the weight. I just was hanging out with everybody playing sports, but nothing
Right.
ever became of it. And so I want to say I didn't play anything in high school. Got out of high school. I stayed around the 315 mark for a while. I'm 25 now. I just turned 25 last Saturday.
You see, did
And
happy birthday, by the way.
yeah, oh, thank you. And so I was just I floated around 315 for a while, and then probably about I don't know a month before. No, no, I'm sorry. It was Thanksgiving of 2020. Um, I I had hit my high. I was like 340, and I was like I got to do something about this. And my dad had gastric bypass in 2007.
Oh,
He lost 180 pounds. He's
holy.
kept off like 120 of it.
Okay.
and that was like I said 2007, so it's pretty successful. He never got skin removal, none of that stuff. Like I intend to, but he never got any of that stuff done. So obesity definitely runs in my family.
It's
We we like to eat and we like to cook.
and so how so obviously so was it just your dad or were other people in your family overweight as well?
So um in my immediate family, it's my mom, my dad, me, and my brother. And my brother, we've all been big. My mom, she lost weight twice naturally. Through a caloric deficit. She lost like 60 pounds the first time. I think she
Okay.
put on like 40 back. And then she lost another, I want to say it was 50 pounds. She lost it back. And then now I believe she's put back on around 30. And so, but that's just because she'll go through those spans where, you're dead set on, I'm losing this weight. And
Hmm.
then get off of it because it's easier to stop swing by Bojangles and get something for dinner than it
Oh
is to
yeah,
go
and
home and cook something.
you create this vicious cycle where you'll lose 20 pounds, you feel amazing, and then one day like the scale just doesn't move for a week and you're like, well, F this, and you just
Yeah,
like, throw the table off and you're like, might as well just go and eat whatever.
exactly.
So in your family, so then meals were very important. There was probably like a lot of bigger portions. You guys
Hmm.
celebrated a lot with food. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, when your dad had the surgery in 2007, how did the
Mhm.
family dynamic change because you guys are still eating all of these, unhealthy foods, bigger
Mhm.
portions, and then here's somebody who's kind of in this lone island by himself. Did it change the dynamic in the household?
Um, so it probably changed for a brief period of time, because around that time my mom she decided that she wanted to lose weight as well, and I think that's one of the first time she lost it naturally, and so I believe that it did, but I'd have been 10 years old, and
Oh
so
yeah.
I don't remember a whole lot of it,
Yeah.
but like even now, like as the years from what I can remember, my mom my dad always cooks. Most of the time, my dad cooks. And so, even though he's still to this day can't eat a lot of food, where his issue right now is he grazes. So
Mhm.
he'll eat, he'll grab a bowl full while he's cooking and eat, and then cook for 30, 40 minutes, and then okay, it's time for everybody to sit down and eat. He'll grab
Right.
another bowl and sit down and eat. Um, but they'll go through spurts right now where they'll get on a health kick and want to do healthy meals. Like right now, we're on a little health. They're on I got them on a health kick right now, and so
Okay.
it's looking good. It's looking good.
So take me to 2020. You're
Hmm.
340 some odd pounds.
Hmm.
And what was the was there a defining moment or what was it that you finally said, I can't do this anymore. I need to do something.
Hmm. So okay, so it was Thanksgiving weekend of
Hmm.
2020. I was taking a shower and I was out of breath from showering,
Just from the shower.
just from showering. And I mean, granted, the hot water and all that stuff. I'm making excuses for it. I was out of breath while I was taking a
Right.
shower, and so I got out, and as I was drying off, I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, I got to do something. Something's got to give. And so my wife was in bed. I opened the door, and I was like, hey, I've been thinking about this gastric sleeve, gastric bypass stuff. Is it okay? Like, how do you feel about me going and getting a consult done, going and talking to somebody? And she was like, go ahead, go find out some more information. Because we didn't know a whole lot. I knew, like I said, I knew my dad had had the bypass,
Right.
but we had never really talked about it in detail. It was just kind of like hinted, like, oh, well, maybe I need to look into that, and then, oh, let's go to Taco Bell, and so she was like, yeah, go ahead, find out some more information. So I then went to I live in North Carolina, so about an hour away from us is
Hmm.
Vidant Hospital in Greenville, North Carolina. They got really good surgeons there and everything. Well, there was a private practice there that did not need like a referral from a family doctor. They just
Ah.
you just walk in, and if you they'll send it to your insurance, and it was a fairly quick process. So I went there and got a consult done. It was about 30 of us in a big conference room with the surgeon went up there and told us a little bit about himself, about the surgeries. It lasted probably about 6 hours, and we went over a bunch of stuff. And then they were like, "Hey, does anybody else want to, go further in this?" So I called my wife and I was like, "Hey, I really want to learn more. I really want to start the process because they said that once you started the process at this doctor's office, it was good for a year. So you could
Okay.
go through all of the steps and then you could wait a year. But if you waited any longer than that, you had to go through all the steps again."
All over again. Okay.
Hmm. And so I went through all the steps. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I called her. She said, "Yeah, go for it." So I went up there and I said, "Yeah, I want to make an appointment." And they were like, "Okay." Now, granted, right now it was probably about 1:15, and they were breaking off so everybody could go to lunch and go about their day. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to learn more." And they were like, "Okay, how does 3 o'clock sound?" And I was like, "Today?" And they were like, "Yeah, come on back. Go get you some lunch and come on back." So that's exactly what I did. I left,
What?
went and got lunch, came back and had my first appointment. And my first appointment was December 12th. I want to say it was December 12th or 15th, one of those 2 days in
Okay.
2020. And I was done with all of my appointments by January 20th. They submitted it to insurance. 2 weeks later, I scheduled my appointment for sleeve and had sleeve done the 26th of February.
So you literally had this thought Thanksgiving weekend.
Hmm.
Hey, this might be something, an avenue for me to try. A
Hmm.
month later, you are having the first appointments and on the steps to it. Then,
Hmm.
literally a month later, you are in a hospital bed
Hmm.
having, like, you literally, what is that, just over 2 months, less than 3 months?
Hmm. Less than 3 months from the thought of like, let's go check this out to actually my surgery date.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Yeah, it was quick.
Question number one, going back for a second,
Hmm.
because you said you're married. You've been married about
Hmm.
7, 8 years now, I believe.
We've been together 7, married like 3.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Now, did you meet your wife when you were heavy?
Hmm. I was
Okay.
probably around 300 pounds when we met.
Okay. And then has obesity affected your relationship at any way, especially towards the end before you decided to go through with it?
Yes, so whenever we met, my wife was, so this is gonna sound bad. I was 18. Where our birthdays are 2 weeks apart. So I had just turned 18 and she was about to turn 16. But when we met, I was 17, she was 15. So we've been together now for like it's been a while. And
Right.
so she was still basically a kid, and she was like, I mean, 120 pounds, and she was in really good shape. And when she met me, I'm 300 pounds. I know how to eat. And so I took her out to all the time. And so now she's put on some extra weight that she does not want. And
Right.
so uh, it, it definitely puts a strain on it. But I mean, as long as communication, as long as you talk
Yeah.
about everything, I mean, it'll all work out. Don't bottle anything in,
Oh,
just talk.
100%. I think, and that was one of the biggest downfalls. Like when I had met my husband, I was still overweight, but I had lost some weight. I was trying to be better. I think I was like
Hmm.
240 pounds at the time. Now, he was more fit. He was very active. And
Hmm.
then when we started dating, what do? You go to eat all the time. You go to
Yep.
restaurants and you want to spend as much time as you can together. And we only knew each other, I think, 2 months before we moved in together. And we were renting a room in a house. And all of a sudden he goes from being healthy to eating out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We go
Hmm.
get fast food for breakfast. And in the first year, we both gained over 100 pounds in
Yeah.
just the first year. And you're like, oh shit, like now you're past the point of no return. And obviously that can cause issues down the road.
Hmm.
Um, but I love that you had such a good support system, and then
Hmm.
your family. They watched your father go through the surgery too. Were they still supportive, or did they have any reservations?
Oh no, they were wholeheartedly supported.
Okay,
Yeah, if I needed anything like for the first couple of weeks, you're on the liquid diet. And so my mom would call me, "Hey, do you need anything from the store?" And I was like, "No, I don't need anything." So I'm just sitting over here pouting, I'm drinking my protein shake. And for the first couple weeks, so I went to the doctor. It was like, I don't know. I had to do 2 weeks liquid, 4 week puree, 2 weeks soft, and then I went back to solid foods. That's what
okay,
our plan was. And so the day that they were like, I went to the doctor 2 weeks post op, and so they could just do a little checkup, and they were like, yeah, you're good to do puree foods. So I called my mom because she was like, hey, let me know if you can go to puree foods. I said okay. So I called her and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm going to puree foods. She said, okay, don't worry about dinner. I'm gonna cook you dinner. I said okay. So I'm like I said, it's about an hour drive. So I drive home. I get here for dinner, and she had made me some homemade, I mean, they were probably terrible for me, but homemade mashed potatoes. And I like almost cried like while I was eating them. They were
oh
so good.
yeah.
The best mashed potatoes of my life.
Isn't that funny? Like, we take the smallest thing for granted. So you had 2 weeks of liquid, 4 weeks of
Yep.
puree, and then
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks of soft. My diet was like a 2 2 2 2 2 system. It was 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
of straight just isopure liquid protein.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was 2 weeks of what they called the full protein, so I could have a yogurt or milk.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was 2 weeks of having mashed food. So for me, it was an entire month of just liquids basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was time for like that first meal. And I think it was like mashed banana. This is going to sound so gross and it wasn't meant to
Oh
be
no.
that way. But when you look at the list of like the approved foods,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like tuna was approved, mashed banana, and like something else. So we had tuna in the house. So I had these little 1 ounce cups, and on my plate, I had an ounce of mashed tuna and I have
Mm-hmm.
an ounce of like mashed banana. I wanted something sweet. And I took a picture, I posted on Facebook, and I'm like, to an outsider, this sounds utterly
Yeah.
disgusting. Like tuna and banana. Now, granted, I didn't eat it together, it was just on my
Mm-hmm.
plate together. But that first bite of banana was like the most incredible
Oh,
thing that
so
I
good.
almost cried too. I was like, this is like so sad, but
Oh man.
you're struggling for so long. So, okay, so your wife didn't have the surgery with you. You're on this island by yourself. You're going through the
Mm-hmm.
process. How is it in the household when it comes to food, especially in the very beginning? Because your wife still has to eat. She didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
surgery. What was that like
So
for you?
so the first couple of days, like you're in a little bit of pain from the
Yeah.
surgery. You're still healing. Like I slept a lot. I had 6 weeks off of work, the entire time off of work, and so the first couple of days they were okay. I slept most of the time. She actually had a kidney stone at the same time that I had surgery this first 2 weeks, and so that was rough. But she was eating stuff around the house, but by day like 7, we went to town, just to get out of the house, getting stir crazy. And she was like, "Man, I really want some Taco Bell." And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's fine. I'm supportive. Let's go to Taco Bell. I'll be okay." And so we go to the drive-through, and I don't even remember what she got. I think she got like a cheesy gordita crunch and some
Oh,
maybe like a Doritos Locos Taco and a Baja Blast. And that was like my first time ever like going out in
yeah.
town around food. And so I did good ordering. Like I ordered it for her, and we pull up to the window,
Well,
and
you
as
had to
soon as
order
they,
it too. You had to be the one
yeah, I
that
was in the
pull out the
driver's seat.
order.
Yeah, I had to order and
Oh,
everything.
it's
And
brutal.
so we get to the window, and I pay them, and they hand me the food, and like I smelled it, and it was like, oh, that smells really good. I can't have that. Oh well, I'm okay. I'm tough. And I handed it over to her in the passenger seat, and we get home. We're about 15 minutes away from home. We get home, and we set up in the living room watch a movie, and she was like, "You sure you want me to eat in here?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." And it was like as soon as she unwrapped it, I was like, "Oh man," I just got all depressed. I was so tired of
Oh,
just sipping on protein shakes. And so she ended up going to the bedroom. Like I was like, she didn't have to, but she ended up going to the bedroom and
yeah.
finishing her meal. But yeah, that was rough. At 7 or 8, yeah, those liquids
Oh,
will test you.
that's so, and it's so true because and like you said in the very beginning when you have the surgery, the first couple of days you're kind of in and out of sleep. Some people are still
Hmm.
on pain medication. I stopped taking the pain medication because I had to like break it up,
Hmm.
like make it powder. But you're only allotted 1 ounce at a time, so an entire pill in this little 1 ounce of water was so disgusting. I'm like, I'm just gonna try to sleep this off.
Hmm.
But you go stir crazy because you can't do anything
Oh yeah.
besides my like 20-minute walk a day that I would do. You're watching TV. And there, like, I think it was day 3 or 4 for me, where it was the same commercial kept playing on. No, even if I changed the channel, it was like this Little Caesars commercial, and it
Hmm.
had like some kind of a pretzel crust and some nacho
Oh, sounds
cheese
good.
kind of sauce. And by the seventh or the eighth time, I am not an emotional person. I just start crying. And my husband's
Oh
like,
man.
"What's going on? What's going on?" I'm like, "I had some pizza and there's nacho cheese and it looks so good. I can't have it." So I was like, "Eff it. I have to turn off the TV because I joke with people. It's like when you buy a new car and you go and you buy like an Altima. Then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you're driving around and you're like, man, there are so many Altimas on the road. Everybody just, and it's like, no, people did not go out and buy Altimas just
Yeah.
because you bought one. You're just more aware of it because you have one now that it's
Hmm.
more noticeable in your everyday life. And for me, the same thing was about food on TV and movies and commercials. It was literally every few minutes is a reference to food.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a total mind F because
Yeah.
you can't have any of this right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I think you kind of realize that there's a problem with your relationship with food. And then I would have many, like, how am I going to get through this? Because at some point, you're going to be able to eat these things. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that we tell people is, yeah, in the beginning, you're restricted, no caffeine, no alcohol, no sugar, whatever. But a
Mm-hmm.
year out, 2 years out, so you can eat these things. So you really have to be careful on training your brain to change your relationship with food,
Mm-hmm.
or if you have issues with emotional eating. So what are some like, do you still struggle with that today, or are you pretty much in a good place where you can navigate?
So, I used to smoke cigarettes, way back when, and I quit and started vaping. Well, my doctor told me I needed to quit nicotine and caffeine before the surgery, and so I quit nicotine and never looked back. I vaped, and the day of my surgery, I left it in the car and never touched it again. I had it on my side table for like 9 months. I just had set it beside me, and I never got the urge to hit it or anything. But I kept off caffeine for a while, but I really like coffee. Like I love coffee, and like I probably should buy shares of Starbucks. I love coffee so much, and so I even bought one of those like Nespressos where you can make your own espresso
Yes.
at the house. Yeah, we bought one on Black Friday. But my biggest downfall right now when it comes to food, so I'm good. I meal prep well, most Sundays, and I
Yeah.
take the same thing every day. I eat the same thing for every day for lunch and breakfast. But I'm really good about not buying sweets. Like I won't buy them. But if they're here at the house, I have no self-control, none. So I know we talked about crumble last time we spoke,
Yes.
and crumble cookies, and so we decided we weren't going to go this week, and so a friend of mine on Monday texted me and was like, "Hey, have you ever been to this restaurant?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, we're here. We're going to swing by Crumble. Do y'all want anything?" And I was like, I happened not to be near my phone, and so I was gonna text him back and be like, "Hey, no, no, we're good, you know," because we decided Monday we both decided we wanted to buckle down on losing weight
Be
again.
good.
And Monday afternoon he calls me and he's like, "Hey man, stop by my house. I picked you up some cookies." And I was like, "Man, you didn't have to do that." And he was like, "No, no, I wanted to." And I was like, "Okay, well, I appreciate it." And so I brought them home, and they're roughly 600 calories a piece
For
for
one
each
cookie.
cookie. For one cookie, 600 calories roughly. And you taste every bit of it because they're delicious, but terrible for you. And so we brought them home, and my wife, she's really good about quartering them up because we got this little thing where it breaks them up into fours, and she'll eat one, and like she still has one from last weekend, still sitting on the end of some Tupperware. I'll eat like both of them in an
Yeah.
hour and a half. Like I have no self control. I'll
Yeah.
quarter them up and be like, yeah, I'll eat this quarter, and then 10 minutes later, I'm in there grabbing the other quarter, you know. And so my biggest downfall right now that I struggle with is sugar. Like because I don't dump as easily as I used to. Like it's like the further out I've gotten, I can tolerate more and more sugar, which is probably because I keep pressing the fact that
Right.
let me go get some ice cream.
But you have the sleeve though, right? Because
Mhm.
I heard that with the sleeve, dumping syndrome is not as common.
Mhm.
But you had to deal with that in the beginning.
For the first couple of months, probably about the first 6 months, if I ate something too high in sugar, oh, I was in the bathroom. Like I never threw up, but there was a couple spells that I went through where I would get severely nauseous, cold sweat, like
Interesting.
terrible stomach pain, and but then after about 15 minutes,
You're just gone.
it was gone. And that still happens now, but I have to eat something like really high in sugar, which I haven't done in a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have to eat something really sugary for in order to get that way.
And I feel like we're very similar in that way because, and I tell people when it comes to sweets, I have a huge sweet tooth.
Hmm.
However, comma, I don't sit and crave it. And like just like you, I don't really keep things in the house. For me, it's out of sight, out of mind. If it's not in front of
Hmm.
me, I don't even think about it. I don't want it. I don't care about it. But if you go somewhere and there's a dessert on the table,
Oh yeah.
or my husband once in a blue moon has come home with like homemade cookies from like
Hmm.
some people at the gym, And that becomes my downfall because now that I know that it's in the house, like those
Oh,
commercials, that's all I can think about. And I'm
yeah,
like, nope, I'm being good. I'm not going to have it. And then you're sitting and you're like, there's a cookie in the cupboard right now
yeah,
and I can totally go eat it. So I
yeah.
totally get that the struggle is real. And that's why
Hmm.
my way of dealing with that is not going out and buying it.
Yeah, I won't buy
And,
it.
and look, I don't think that everything has to be all or nothing. I don't think that you have to give up everything entirely the rest of your life. Because, like, for us, just like in the very beginning, when you are so limited on what you can have, that's what you think about all the time. When you
Hmm.
can't have coffee, you're thinking about coffee all the time because it's like the forbidden fruit. You want it all the time. But if you can train yourself to eventually be able to enjoy it, you can
Hmm.
enjoy your crumble cookie. But like you said, your wife might have a little bit more self-control and cut them in the quarters.
Hmm.
But the biggest advice that I try to give people is that very first bite is going to taste identical to the very last bite.
Exactly.
And we joke that it's not going to progressively explode in flavor and taste. It's going to be the same. So it's
Hmm.
I'm trying, even with me, I'm almost 8 years out. I still will try to eat it slower so I can savor it a little bit more. And the
Hmm.
slower that you eat it, the more it's going to fill you up quicker anyway. So it is a win win. But I don't think you need to give it up entirely. I'm sure there's people watching or people will comment later like, no, you can't. I'm going to be a
Yeah.
food Nazi. You can't have this. But
That's
no,
what got you fat in the first place.
yeah, put the fork down. It's so annoying. Um, so one of the things I wanted to ask you too is because, like we said at the top of the show, men are not as vocal about
Hmm.
the surgery, and it's not that men are not having it; they're just women promote the crap out of it all over TikTok and Instagram.
Hmm.
But there are some men that are doing it, but not nearly as often. And I'm just curious, like as if from a guy's point of view, why do you think that men are not as vocal?
I mean, I think there might be like a stigma on like a man, like, oh, why didn't you man up and do it the natural way? Why did you have to have the surgery? Like, oh, it's the women that can they are you a woman? Are you a girl? You can't
Oh
handle
yeah.
it, do it by yourself. I just think a lot of men are probably ashamed of it, but it helped me. I know it can help somebody else, so I'm gonna tell as many people as I can.
And I love that. So, and were you always vocal, like even from the very beginning? Like, were
Hmm.
you open about telling people?
So the only people that I told my immediate family, I
Yeah.
told most of my family. I told some close coworkers that I work with, but I didn't tell everybody at my job. And I'm trying to think. I don't. If anyone asked me about it, I told them about it.
Right.
But like I posted that first TikTok the morning that I woke up. Like it was that
Really?
morning. That was if you see me, I'm in my little gown with my little stuffed animal. That was the morning. I had just woke up maybe 2 hours before that after surgery.
I'm gonna go back and find it.
Yeah, you
So,
should see it.
so you didn't tell very many people at work. So what happened? Because you said you took 6 weeks off.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
were people like asking you like, why are you gone for 6 weeks?
So I work with well back then. I worked with about 40 people. There's about 40 people at my location, and people say that women are drama, but you get a bunch of grown men together, there's drama, and so they all like to talk and everything. So the one coworker I did tell then that Monday, everybody's like, "Where's Bobby at? Where's he at? What's he doing? Is he being lazy?" And then he was like, "No, he had surgery." And so he kind of told everybody for me, which I mean, I
Oh, I don't
wasn't.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't upset that he did because I didn't tell him he couldn't. But I had a couple of people that were nice that I actually enjoy speaking with at work that messaged me and was like, "Hey man, Joe told me about it. I'm praying for you. Hope you feel better. Hope everything works out." So there was a lot more support than I thought there was going to be at work. But they're all drama, so I didn't really tell a whole bunch of them.
Okay, number one, I didn't realize that men can be as catty and chatty as women
Oh
are.
man, oh man,
Really?
I wish I could have a body cam. It's so bad. It's so bad.
That's so and then for that I totally agree that there is like this male machismo attitude, like you're not emotional, you don't show
Hmm.
weakness is for women are the cry. So I can totally see how men might not be as welcoming
Hmm.
to it, which is why I am so grateful that there are guys out there like you. And there's some really strong people on social media that are just promoting it, saying, "Hey, I'm just as man as everybody else. Like we're all the same. just because my story is different doesn't negate anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like you're now giving other guys hope. You're letting
Mm-hmm.
them know, hey, it's okay for you to talk about this and be vocal about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you just bettered yourself in every possible aspect of your life just by making this simple decision. So if this opportunity is out there for other people, why are you not going out and taking it? Because of pride? Like, what's
Yeah,
the point in that?
exactly. There's not. There's not. I mean, if you can, if I've got to go to California, if I can take a Lamborghini over a bicycle, why wouldn't I take the Lamborghini? You know, if you can
Yes.
have, I mean, it's there. All you got to do is drive it, which is like the sleeve, the bypass. They're tools. They're
Yeah.
there, and as long as you use them, they'll work. But you have to use them.
I'm going to start using that from now on because I love that. Now, have you dealt with people, especially because you are being more vocal on social media?
Hmm.
There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who have
Hmm.
all of these cojones behind a computer screen. Do you
Hmm.
ever find people making comments about like the whole you cheated or you took the easy way out or are more negative about it?
I've had a couple. See, I don't. There's some other TikTok creators that entertain it, that will post videos and stuff about it, and I'm not saying don't do that, but if I see it, I will just completely ignore it,
Okay.
and like I won't give them the time of day. So I don't normally get a whole lot of. I get a couple here and there, but not nearly as many as some of the other creators that I follow.
Yeah.
Like they'll get them like all the time, and
I think and I think that's really good advice to not feed into it because if you
mm-hmm.
put energy into it, you're fueling it even more for them to want to come back. And I'm sure that there's some people that actually find the enjoyment in rattling somebody else's
Mm-hmm.
cages and then doing that back and forth. I try not to focus my energy onto that. I always try to come up with a couple rebuttals if I'm ever in person with somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
especially because I had written a book and I started doing like little events where I would try to promote and like meet people. I've done fitness events. And then when people are like, oh my God, you have this amazing weight loss story, tell me about
Mm-hmm.
your book. And the minute I mention it's about my weight loss surgery
Oh,
story or my
mm,
bariatric journey, then it's like, oh,
yeah,
so you just forced yourself to eat less.
yeah.
And
You
I'm like,
starved.
yeah, I guess. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, so you didn't do it naturally, or oh, you cheated. And in the beginning, especially when it's confronted in person, it's kind of hard to, have a clap back or like get back to it because you're just kind of shocked that somebody would have the balls to say it to your face.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, at least I've had time to prepare. And I had a guy, this very big swole dude, come to my table one time and make the same comment, like, oh, so you just cut your stomach and just ate less. And I'm like, well, how is it any different? You go to the gym and you use a machine. Are you cheating? Like, why aren't you going out and doing your own squats or
Yeah.
running marathons? Like, well, you're using a machine. It's a tool. Like, as long as you use it properly and you know what you're doing and you don't
Mm-hmm.
and you're consistent with it, you're going to get the results you want, right? So how is that? So whether you're using a leg press machine or I had a surgery, at the end of the day, it's just a jump start to get where you need to go. Like, you still have to go to the gym every day. And you still have to use that machine every day properly. So that kind of helps a little bit, but man, there's some assholes out there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And then,
Definitely.
so I'm when you were like at your heaviest in high school and junior high, and especially like before you had the surgery, were you somebody who still had like a big personality and got a lot of attention, or were you like more
Oh
shy
yeah.
and reserved?
No, I was definitely. I would. I'm not gonna brag. I was a popular kid, but I
Right.
fit in with I would hang out with anyone. So, I mean, I was not scared to talk to anybody at school. I went and hung out with all the cliques. I mean, there was. I was just I like human interaction. Like that's
Yeah.
another reason why I love TikTok is because I was not expecting to get any kind of following, but now that I
Yeah.
have, oh, I love it. I
You're
love it.
all
And
about it.
so, yeah, so in high school, I was the same way. I wanted to talk to everybody. Like I got moved around in my English class like 12 times because I would just talk to the person next to me. And then finally my teacher was like, "Is there anybody in here you won't talk to?" And I was like, "Ah, not
You're like,
really.
nah.
No, yeah, not really." And so, yeah.
So
So no,
confidence was never really your issue.
no, not really.
Okay. That's interesting because I was I was the one in the back of the class. I didn't talk, people did not notice me. I literally, I'll admit it out loud. I don't care. I literally had somebody write my yearbook one time. I didn't even know you were in my class. And I'm like,
What?
oh, that was
Yeah.
harsh. That was hard. And I just found like my old yearbooks like in the last couple of years. And I'm like, man, I was really not noticed. I just kind of fell into the crowd. I
Hmm.
didn't put myself out there. As I got older, by the time I was over 350 pounds, at that point, people were not going to notice me because of like your, society beauty or anything like that. So I just started being the funny one. I was like, I'll be the funny fat friend. I don't care. And then I
Hmm.
started gaining more confidence that way. But it's just very interesting how all of a sudden you lose weight and people will naturally treat you differently. Or those
Hmm.
people who didn't pay attention in high school are now sending you friend requests on Facebook because they see a picture and they're like, "Oh, damn," or whatever.
Yeah,
Did you
exactly.
have anybody like treat you differently afterwards, or not so much?
Well, so like beforehand, it wasn't necessarily like confidence like towards like girls or anything, but it was just like I was just like, you're the fat friend, so you gotta
Yeah,
crack jokes, you gotta to
yeah.
fit in, so you crack jokes on yourself, that kind of thing. But I would say like now I'm more confident with strangers. Like I
Okay.
was didn't used to be like as confident with strangers. Like I wouldn't have walked into a room with people I didn't know and try to talk to somebody. Whereas
Right.
now I walk into a room and do that now. So I have that confidence. But like back in high school, it was like if I knew you, I would talk to you. But I wouldn't. It wasn't like I'm not gonna walk in cookout where all the
Right.
teenagers hang out and try to talk to everybody.
You wouldn't initiate it.
Yeah, no, no, no. And especially not with a stranger.
That's so funny. Now, and as far as your relationship now, how has your relationship improved since you've had the surgery
With
with your
myself,
wife?
with my
No,
wife.
like with your wife, like in your personal relationship.
I would say it's gotten tested a couple times because of like the whole, like I said, the food and weight loss situation, like I was talking about earlier. But when we're both on the same page, like right now, like we're on a health kick, like we're determined, like we're both gonna keep losing weight because I've been stalled out for I don't know 3 months now, 2 or 3 months now,
Yeah,
and it's my doing because like I've been fluctuating like 5 pounds because I'll do really good during the week, and then on the weekends I love
weekends.
sushi and candy and stuff like that, so I won't eat very well, and so that's my biggest issue is that. But now that we're on this health kick, like we're great.
I love that because I didn't realize when I had the surgery, I didn't realize how common it was for relationships to end or divorces or breakups. And I never
Mhm.
understood like how is a surgery like ruining relationships? But then it's like
Mhm.
you kind of peel back the onion a little bit, and if one person in the relationship is making these drastic changes and you're losing so much weight so quickly that as an individual you don't have time to process everything. And like
Mhm.
I said, your confidence is building, you're getting more attention, people are sliding into your DMs, and I can see how like the other partner, if they're not on the same level of journey for themselves, I can see how it can cause like insecurities or jealousy
Mhm.
or almost like a resentment in some
Mhm.
cases, which is why, and I think you've said this before, communication is so important during this
Mhm.
journey.
Definitely. I don't know if it just started happening. Can you want to unplug your mic and plug it back in? It sounded a little distorted.
Mine sounded distorted.
Yeah, just I mean, it might be my headset. I
All
just
right.
want to make
Well,
sure.
oh, if anybody's watching, let me know because,
It might just be me. If
all
it's
right,
just
now.
me, I can still understand you. I just want to make sure that
Okay, I don't hear anything.
okay.
So hopefully we'll see if anybody comments or anything.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Um, so if you had to do it all over again,
Hmm.
is there anything that you would do differently?
Um, so I would have done definitely, the cliche, I would have done it sooner. Like I would have tried to have done it sooner. Which, like I said, I had it done at 23, which is still fairly early in my
That's
life.
still young.
And I have a friend on TikTok. She had it at 17 or 18.
Really?
Yeah, her handle is Bypass Nicole, and she's awesome. She's like had like lost like 125 pounds, so she had it pretty young too.
Oh, good for
But
her.
I would have definitely done it sooner because I had talked about it a couple years prior with my aunt. Her and my uncle got divorced, but my aunt, she had it done and she lost like 100 pounds. But she had it done it's probably been about 6 years ago now. And so right after she had it done, I talked to her about it. She's the one I got the information from for the place I went through. So would have done it sooner. And like my biggest tip that I would have given myself is not to compare myself to anyone else because those first 6 months, like, I mean, the first year really, like you're gonna lose weight at a completely different speed than everyone
Yeah.
else. And there's gonna be some months where you're gonna lose 30 pounds, and then the next month you might lose 10. The next week you might lose nothing. I see people all the time commenting on TikToks in general, whether it's my post or someone else's, like, "Hey, I haven't lost but a pound this week. Am I doing anything wrong?" And it's like, no, just stay off the scale. Like, quit looking at the scale. Don't weigh it every
Yes.
day, because there's so many people that weigh every day, and I'm guilty of it. I do it, but it's
Me too.
terrible for your mental health. Because like
Yeah.
I got so Monday, like I said, we decided that we wanted to buckle down. Like I weighed like 208 and some change, and my original goal was 199. I wanted to hit Wonderland. And so this week I buckled down and I weighed every single day. This week I know I shouldn't have, but like this morning I'm down to 203.8, which is my lowest ever.
Heck
um,
yes.
yeah, I'm very excited about that. So as long as I can stay good through this weekend, I'm hoping I leave to go on a cruise next Thursday. And so I'm trying to get down to 199 before that. Now, is that realistic? Probably not, but I'm gonna try.
I
You
mean,
know.
it's still doable. I mean, what's funny is you get to a certain point where, like you said, you can tolerate a lot more foods and you
Mhm.
don't realize how many calories you're consuming. Cause
Mhm.
I was stalled at one point for like well over a year.
Mhm.
Um, I would lose 5 pounds, gain the same 5 pounds back. And I'm like, how is it possible? I can't even eat that much. I still get
Yeah.
full over eating solid bites of chicken. But when I did this challenge earlier in the year and I was like logging everything in, you're like, oh, a lot of these things like really add up and you don't realize it. Like, even
Yeah.
though it's just a few bites of this, or if it's just 1 ounce of this and all this little snacking, I think it's definitely doable.
Mhm.
So you're
Yeah.
not
Well.
going to stop, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I have high hopes. We got this. We got this.
You
But
100% got this.
oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and that's probably the biggest thing that makes me sad that I see on social media is the constant need to compare to somebody else. And I remember like people would ask me, how much weight did you lose in your first week? Like I just had my surgery a week ago. How much did you lose the first week? And I'm like, well, mine I lost like 19 pounds the first week, which
Mhm.
was crazy huge.
Crazy.
Like I did
Yeah.
not, when I stepped on that scale, like I thought the scale was broken. I was like, this is not physically possible. But and they're like, well, I only lost 4 pounds, or I only lost 5 pounds my first week. Like my sleep failed me. I failed. And I'm like, but here's the difference. I said, I was over 350 pounds. So yeah, I lost 19 pounds. And when you look at them, they started at like 250 pounds or something like that.
Exactly.
I was like,
The
you're not comparing apples to apples. You're comparing
yeah.
apples and cucumbers. I mean, that's not a
Mhm.
comparison. And how many of us have different situations? You have different genetics or different,
Mhm.
environmental factors, or we have a different metabolism. All of us
Mhm.
who've done like these crazy yo-yo diets, like I had my surgery, I think at 34. So that's like 20 years worth of different fads and diets and
Mhm.
crashing your metabolism and spiking up your sugar. That's a lot of long-term damage that's going to affect your results too. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We just lose at a different pace. Um, so another question for you. I still can't believe that you literally had 2 months to prepare.
2 months.
You had two
Just like I
months.
said, December 14th to February 26th, so like 2.5 months.
Yeah, you literally had 2 months to prepare. Do you think that you were prepared mentally enough?
No, God, no, no. That is one thing I feel like gets pushed under the rug because whenever you go for like your psych appointment, or at least in my case, I had to go to I think it was two psych appointments. My first one,
Really?
yeah, I think it was two. My first one, I went and I sat in front of a computer, never talked to a soul. They just said, "Hey, come in here." Sat in front of a computer and took a test, basically saying I wasn't suicidal. That was pretty much the test. They said, hey, it'll take you about 2 hours to complete this test. I said, okay. So I sat down. There was a bunch of like, do you agree, disagree, how do you feel questions, and but that was the gist I got from it. Was it was just asking if I was suicidal, and I finished it in like 45 minutes. Like it was, I did it really quick. And so the lady was like, "Are you sure you answered all of them?" And we went back, and I'd answered all of them. They were like, "Okay, well you're done." And so the second time I went back, I actually spoke with the psychologist, and he was a really cool guy. And he said, "Hey, we looked at your test results. You know, you seem like a healthy individual. You know that you can withstand the surgery and the stress that it's going to bring. Do you have any questions?" And like you asked me before, I'm really bad at coming up with questions. And so I was like, no, not really. We spent about 15 minutes, 20 minutes going over like, hey, these are going to be your portion sizes. This is what you need to do if you start to get overwhelmed. But it was like a half hour session. So, but that was it. That was it. There
What
was,
this is like probably, and this is, and I tell people this is why we're trying to build this show and talk about it, because they don't prepare any of us enough. And like the
mm-hmm,
biggest comment, aside from the comparing to somebody else's journey, the biggest hurdle people have to come is that they were not mentally prepared
no.
for what happens afterwards. I'm bummed that your psychology appointment was via a quiz, like a multiple choice quiz or something
Mm-hmm,
like that, which I'm now realizing it was during COVID. So there probably wasn't a lot of in
mm-hmm,
person sessions. I get there, but there should have been like a Zoom, seeing somebody face to face, engaging,
yeah.
their headspace. But again, I don't think a 1 hour conversation with a stranger is going to be enough time to mentally prepare you for what
Mm-hmm.
happens afterwards. So looking back now, what were some of the things that you wished would have been presented to you or had been maybe either prepared you for?
Oh, I'm glad I did the surgery. But at the, whenever I was, right after, the first 2 weeks, you're going to have buyer's remorse. Well, most people do. You're like, well, what have I
Yeah.
done to myself? And like I said, I hit that breaking point around 7 or 8 days post op. And I just wish that they could find a way to better prepare you mentally. So like whether it's have an extra two psych appointments where you actually speak to somebody, like go on Zoom, they need to have a questionnaire or like ask me stuff, engage me, and because like, that's also a hard thing to prepare somebody because like
Yeah.
that's one of those things like you don't know how you're gonna feel until you're in it, Um, maybe the liquid diet they could have like said because like my pre-op diet, it was just low carb. I didn't have to do
Okay.
liquids or nothing. It was just, hey, cut out all your carbs. We're gonna try to shrink your liver or the fat around your liver, and and so I feel like they should definitely have more psych appointments. To my dietitian, everything was good with the dietitian. I had like 4 dietitian appointments, which I feel like maybe it should be reversed. Maybe 2 dietitian appointments, 4 psych appointments.
Yeah.
But there's some of the other insurances make you go through a 6 month
Hmm.
uh insurance, or what's it called, like a
You have to,
supervised diet.
yeah, with like a
So,
doctor
hmm
supervised program or something like that.
so maybe not do a 6 month one, but maybe a month's mandatory.
Yeah.
4 weeks is mandatory. Because I mean, I had an appointment like every Friday because I have off on Friday. So every Friday they scheduled me an appointment, and I went to Greenville every day or every week. And the last time I went was the day I had the surgery. So I definitely feel like they could probably add some more psych appointments into that and actually force you to talk with somebody because
I,
they.
I I so wholeheartedly agree. And even if you're, especially people who have to do these 6 months programs ahead of time,
Hmm.
why are they not incorporating therapy sessions in that
Hmm.
time? Because obviously we did not just wake up one morning obese.
Hmm.
This was like years of abuse that we were putting to our body. Now, the reasons for our obesity are going to vary from person to person, but there's a lot of common themes. A lot of it has to do with childhood trauma that turned into an emotional response to food.
Hmm.
Some of it's just family genetics, or like in your case, having a family that just ate a lot or had bigger
Hmm.
portions, and that everybody was kind of suffering
Hmm.
this epidemic together. But there's a lot of common themes. So why are we not talking about it? Because you're going to have this surgery, those demons or those issues or those causes for you to stress eat or binge eat or crave
Hmm.
things are not going to go away
Yeah, they're still
when you
there.
wake up. They're still
Hmm.
there. So why are we not doing like the prep work and studying for this
Hmm.
exam by being as prepared as we can be?
Hmm. Exactly. And like I said, you said earlier that I did go through all this stuff during COVID. Like whenever I went to my consultation,
Mhm.
there was 30 or 40 of us in this big conference room. We were wearing masks, everything. We had to get they had to scan us to make sure we didn't have a fever. And they were having therapy sessions, like not necessarily like group meetings. So people that
Like
had
support
had the
groups?
surgery, these support groups, there you go. Afterwards, they would do once a month, but they had canceled them for like the whole year of 2000 or for 2020, and then they only had a couple in 2021, but you had to be vaccinated to go to it. And I was not vaccinated at the time, and so I didn't have that. So maybe it would have hurt their business, but maybe they should have held off on
Yeah.
the surgeries until you can actually talk to somebody that has had the surgery, because
Yeah.
the people that they brought in, most of the people at the doctor's office that I had it done through had had gastric bypass or sleeve. My nurse practitioner or whatever, she had
Mhm.
had the sleeve done, and she was the one pretty much getting all the stuff, all the steps in order. And but it would have been nice to talk to somebody. She was like 12 years out, so
Yeah.
she's just talking about all the good stuff because she's been out for so long. But it would have been nice to talk to somebody like, oh no, I'm 3 months out. I'm a month out.
Mhm.
I'm 6 months out. They need to have some people that are closer to their post-op date to talk about this kind of stuff, because as I'm going along, I'm forgetting some of the stuff that sucked about it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many good things happen after the surgery. Like you're starting to love life more. And so I feel like that maybe that could be incorporated, like even if it's not a group setting, like hey, you had gastric bypass, 6 months ago. Do you mind talking to somebody that's interested in it? Telling them
Yes.
the ups and downs, because it's fresh. You just went through it. Not necessarily scare them, but I'm cutting the crap. I'm telling
Right.
you everything. This is like the first 2 weeks. That liquid diet's gonna suck. And I wish I would have talked to somebody like in that context. Like, hey, don't
Yeah.
don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what I need to know.
That's kind of what I wish I had too, because back then there wasn't a lot of Facebook support groups that I knew of. There wasn't many books out there
Hmm.
or blog. There was a couple of blogs, a couple of YouTube videos, and that was the biggest reason why I ended up writing a book. And because I blogged the whole journey, because I
Hmm.
felt like I was on this island by myself. I didn't have people that I was going through it with. I had known one or two people who had done it years before I had, but a lot, like you said, a lot of them forget about the very beginning because they're so
Hmm.
focused on the end result and how much better their life is. Yes, it makes it all worth it, but
Hmm.
I want to talk about the shit. So I went through it and I joke about it. I Googled everything because I didn't
Hmm.
have something to compare it. So when I got dizzy, I Googled it. Google says I have a brain tumor. Now I have to go, now I freak
Yeah.
myself out. Or like when your blood pressure starts falling, or the hair loss, or I had this, I don't know about you, but I had that weird metallic taste for like a month
Oh yes.
straight. I
Hmm.
didn't know what it was. So I'm Googling it. I'm like, do I have some rare mouth cancer now? Did the surgery cause me like this deadly disease in
Hmm.
my mouth? And they're
Yeah.
like, no. And then you find out you're in ketosis. And that's what happens
Yeah.
when you're in
I
ketosis.
brushed my teeth like 5 times trying to get my tongue to
Yeah, you're
my
literally
breath
like
just stunk. It
scrubbing
was so
it.
bad.
And it's so crazy. And I would tell, and they're like, well, what is it? What does it feel like? I'm like, it literally feels like I'm sucking on a penny, and I've
Yeah.
never sucked on a penny. So why I'm using that visual, that's just, I assume if I sucked on a penny, this is exactly what it would taste like.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't have those answers back then.
Hmm.
And people don't talk about it. And there was a guest that we had earlier this week, Marcy, was saying that she was going to support groups afterwards. And then
Hmm.
people were talking, like she was starting to talk about the mental health aspect, like transfer addiction and stuff. And they were shushing her. They were
Oh.
downplaying it because they didn't want to scare people off. And my thing is, is everybody going to have transfer addiction? No. Is everybody going to have regain? No. But these are possibilities that you
Hmm.
just need to be aware of them. So in the event you start seeing patterns or signs, go get help or go find a
Hmm.
solution. But I hate that we're just showing these before and after pictures and people are just signing that dotted line and they're like, I
Yeah.
want this, but they're not talking about all the crap that goes in there. Like having,
Yeah.
I You and I bonded over our love for Taco Bell.
Yes.
I am obsessed with the nacho cheese. I have not had Taco Bell in a long time, which I'm kind of bummed about. But I lost my whole train of thought because now I'm thinking about nacho cheese. Um, yeah. So maybe I just wanted to give Taco Bell a shout out.
Nice.
I don't know. Um, so how is it like now for you? Like well, actually, because you said that you and your wife are kind of like on the same journey right now,
Hmm.
and I think that that's really important too. My husband and I were in different journeys also,
Hmm.
and that was an issue in our relationship for many years, where I would be motivated one time, I'm doing the next fad out there, and he's not, or vice versa. He would be motivated and he's running all the time, and I am not. So I think that in order to, and maybe I'm hoping you agree, that to have like a really healthy relationship is that you guys need to be at least with the same mindset. You might not be
Hmm.
doing it the exact same way, but as long as you're in the mindset of wanting to better your personal self, I think it
Hmm.
makes your relationship overall much stronger. Like, would you agree or not? Am I
Hmm.
crazy?
No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because yeah, because like right now, like so we're both doing like like lower calorie, high protein diet. Because for a while there, I didn't really know what to do, and
Yeah.
I just started tracking it, and she'll say now like I'm pretty harsh. She'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get this ice cream out of the freezer or whatever," and I'm like, and I not trying to be hateful. I'm like, "Do you need that?" Like, do you really need that? And she'll be like, well, you don't have to say it like that. So you have to like
Right.
gently suggest, like,
Yeah.
well, why don't you go get the sugar-free whipped cream instead of the Halo or instead of the Haagen-Dazs,
Yeah.
caramel ice cream. And so, but yeah, like you said, like, if you both had the same mindset, it really, really helps.
It makes it so much easier,
Hmm.
100%. I mean, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, I get that. But it's
Yeah.
nice knowing he does his thing in his way.
Hmm.
I do my thing in my way. And because, like I said, you're constantly working on yourself. And to go back earlier, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of relationships don't make it out of the surgery. And it's not
Hmm.
because of the surgery, it's because either we did not value ourselves enough, we did not invest enough time into our personal best. And if you're
Hmm.
not at your personal best, or at least striving to get there, you're not
Exactly.
very good to your partner, and you're not really as committed to the relationship. And I
Hmm.
think that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of downfall. So I love that you brought up communication is so important, to communicate
Hmm.
what you're feeling. If you're in a relationship with somebody who has not had the surgery and you have, learning to communicate how they can help you,
Hmm.
this, and vice versa. If you're the one who's not having the surgery, what can I do to make this easier? Like, what things can I do? I love that your wife was willing to go into the other room. It's not expected, and I never
Hmm.
asked my husband to go eat somewhere else. He just wanted to do that because he felt bad throwing it in my face that he was
Exactly.
eating. And I'd be like, "Look, I appreciate it, but you didn't put yourself through this. Like, you shouldn't be
Hmm.
suffering because I'm suffering." But it is very nice when your partner is mindful and like
Hmm.
wants to, and if that's their way of helping, then I encourage that too.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like, and I can't even believe that an hour is almost up. We
Wow.
literally
It
have
has been like
it.
a minute and a half.
It goes by so quickly.
Yeah, it was
So
pretty quick.
yeah, see, I told you it's not going to be that bad.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
so I guess one of the things I wanted to leave off on is, like I said, I love that you're putting your story out there. You're helping so many people.
Hmm.
Somebody who has not seen your page yet, who might be watching this, like, what is the biggest thing that you want to give them as a takeaway, or the biggest advice that you can give someone right now who's thinking about having surgery?
Don't be scared of the what if, because what if can go both ways. Like, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if I die? Because I was scared to die. Like, I don't like major surgeries.
Oh
And
no.
but then like, what if you succeed? Like, what if you do lose that 120 pounds? Like, what if you do start to love life? So that would probably be my slogan. Don't be scared of the what if.
I freaking love that. And that goes against, or no, that goes along with everything. I'm all about mindset.
Hmm.
And do not focus on the negative.
Hmm.
Do not focus on complications that may or may not even be a
Yeah,
factor or exist.
exactly.
But if you focus on the bigger picture, focus on those NSVs. What's been your favorite NSV so far?
A pull up. I could do a pull up.
Really?
Yeah, that was
That's
awesome. The first time I did it.
that's actually on my vision board. I've never been
Hmm.
able to do one yet.
Yeah, me either. Like as a kid, that was never happening. But I did one probably about a month or so ago.
Oh, I love that. Okay, there's hope for me now. Okay, great. Is there what's an NSV that you're looking forward to doing?
Oh man, I don't know. Like me and my wife want to have kids. Hopefully towards the end of the year, start trying. And so like, I guess a future one is like be able to run around with my future kid and not
Yeah,
get out of breath, like not be tired. That's probably one. And that'll like I said, that'll take years to come to fruition, but hopefully one day it will.
but it's gonna come true. Don't you worry. Is there anything else that you want to add before we go today?
I don't believe so. I feel like that was it.
You're so cute. I am so happy that you were willing to come on the show today. I'm so grateful that you were willing to share your story. I'm hoping that people who watch Bobby's story are inspired to want to go out and just be the best version of themselves. Focus on the what if it works for you, what
Hmm.
if it goes your way.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I could make it. This is awesome.
I love it. I hope you'll be willing to come back again and give us an
Oh,
update.
of course, of course.
Good answer. Okay, we're off to a good point. Um, so people who are not following you on TikTok, what is your TikTok handle?
It's at underscore bariatric Bobby underscore, I believe. There might be a few periods in there that I had to add, but just you should be able to search bariatric Bobby on TikTok, and my little LinkedIn stuff where they can click on it and it'll take them to all my links and stuff will be up
Oh,
there.
like the link tree or whatever.
Yeah, Linktree. I think that's what it's
Yeah, yeah,
called.
yeah.
But yeah.
I just got one for the first time. So if you want to follow Bobby on TikTok, you can go to look up Bariatric Bobby,
Hmm.
and he's an open book. So if you have questions for him, you want to ask him stuff, get his advice. Obviously, we are not medical professionals; we cannot give
Yeah.
medical advice. But all we can do is just offer tips and suggestions and support from people who've been in your position before,
Hmm.
and let you know that you are not alone in this journey. You got two people, at least right here, that are
Yeah.
willing to help you. And on that note, again, thank you so much for being here. If you guys have questions, keep writing in, sending us your comments and your videos. If you're interested in being on the show, send me a message. I'd love to have you come on the show and share your story as well. And hope you guys all have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you next week.